So I looked at your Google Forms from yesterday, and overall, I think you guys pretty much understand the concept of the area of a triangle. I do just want to emphasize once again that remember a triangle, so let's say if this is a triangle like this, a triangle is half of the area of a parallelogram. So a whole parallelogram is base times height. So when you find the area of one triangle or a triangle, you're going to do base times height divided by 2. So what I saw a lot of people doing, let's say if this is a triangle and the base is 4 feet and the height, because remember the height's never diagonal, let's say the height is 6 feet. What I saw on the Google form was a lot of people just doing 4 times 6 and saying 24 feet squared instead of doing base times height, which is 4 times 6, and then dividing by 2. So make sure you're always dividing the base times height divided by 2. All right. And again, if you were someone that wrote your units or your units squared in your Google form, I did not count that against you. So don't worry about that if you got all those questions wrong. As long as your number was correct, then I counted that. All right. So the only question I really want to go over from the Google form was this one. Okay, so it said the base was 4 2/10 inches. This diagonal was 7 inches, and then it said the height was 3 5/10 inches. So looking at this problem, we know we're not going to use that 7 because that's a diagonal. That doesn't tell us anything. We have our base and then we have our height. So what we need to do is 4 2/10 times the height of 3 5/10, and then we're going to divide by 2. So a lot of people for this one forgot to divide by 2 after they did their multiplication. So again, you will probably get a decimal because you're multiplying decimals. So let's do this real quick. So we have, let's see, where should I do it? So remember, take out the decimal places. You have 42 times 35. You have 10, 20, 21. Placeholder. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. So you end up getting 0, 7, 4, 1. 2 decimal places. Move it in twice. So this is 14 7/10. I saw a lot of people just put that. Remember, you still need to divide it by 2. Okay, so for your answer, you end up getting 3 75/100 inches squared. All right, so that's really the only one I definitely wanted to go over to make sure you guys understood that. All right, so today what we're going to do, we're still going to continue finding the area of triangles. So make sure you always know area of a triangle equals base times height, and you need to always divide whatever you get when you multiply the base times height by 2 because it's half of what the area of a parallelogram is. All right. Now, one definition I wanted to go over with you guys today is the definition of what it means to be perpendicular. All right. So perpendicular basically means, okay, at a right angle. Okay, so basically a line that meets another line at a right angle, that means that these two lines are perpendicular. So the base and the height of a triangle are always perpendicular. So if you're given a base and then you see a line that's straight vertical from that base, you always know that's the height. All right, so that's a little key feature that maybe might be a little helpful when you're trying to figure out what is the height of the triangle. All right, so I'm gonna look at a little example with you guys. So I'm looking at your workbook right now, okay, on page 677. So if you wanna look in your workbook on page 677. And at the very top of the page, it says another example. So it says, Kaylin drew the triangle below find the area of the triangle. So you can look at this triangle a couple of different ways, okay? And let's look at this little speech bubble. It says any side of a triangle can be its base. So right now we're looking at the triangle like this. Well, 10 is its base, okay? Because we're seeing that that's on the bottom, okay? But you need the corresponding height. So if this is the base, we need to find the right angle its height, okay? Well, 5 is not at a right angle to 10. So 5 isn't the height in this case. What would be the height that corresponds to 10? 8 would be the height because I see a right angle there because this is the base, this is the height. So one way you can find the area of this triangle is to multiply 10 times 8 and then either multiply by half or divide by 2, and you end up getting 40 feet squared, okay? But if we flip this around, okay, I can look at this triangle. Now I'm looking at the paper a little weird, but I can look at this triangle like this, and I see now that actually this number, which is 16, is the base, and 5 is the perpendicular height, which corresponds with it. So I can also find the area of this triangle by saying that this is the base, which is 16, and this is the base, which is 5. And that's another way you can find the area of this triangle. You can do 16 times 5, and then multiply by half or divide by 2, and you also get 40 feet squared, okay? So I'm gonna read this speech bubble again. It says, any side of a triangle can be its base, but you need to find the corresponding height. The height is the perpendicular distance from the opposite vertex to the base. So again, the height is basically just the line that makes a right angle with the base. So 10 and 8 make a right angle. And then if we flip it over, 16 and 5 make a right angle. So base, height. All right. So flip over your page on page 667 and look at page 668. All right, I want everyone to look at the very last question. It says, use each of the 3 corresponding base and height pairs to find the area of the triangle. Now this may look a little interesting because there's a lot of lines going on. All right, but again, we can flip this triangle around any way we need to find the corresponding base and height. So right now I'm going to start with the base that I see right away, which is 18. All right, so looking at this triangle, what is the corresponding height that goes with 18? Okay, there's 3 heights that we're given. We're given this height of 11 and 25/100 centimeters. We're given this height of 12 centimeters, and then we're given this height of 10 centimeters. Which height goes with 18 centimeters as the base? Well, I see that 10 centimeters makes that right angle. So 18 goes with 10. So one way we can find the area of this triangle is area equals 18 times 10 divided by 2. That is one way we can find the area of this triangle, okay? Another way we can find the area of this triangle, let me get a different color marker, okay? If I flip this like this, okay, I see that the base this way is 15, right here, this 15, okay? So what is the corresponding height with 15? What line makes a right angle? Is it the 10 or is it the 12 that is the height that goes with 15? It's the 12. So another way we can find the area of this triangle is to do area equals 15 times 12 divided by 2. So all we're doing for these problems, guys, we are just finding different heights and bases. But if we solved all of these problems, we would get the same exact area. All right, we're just taking a different base and a different height. So then the very last base and height that can help us solve our problem, if we look at this triangle this way, we see that the base is 16, okay? And the corresponding height that makes a right angle with 16 would be 10, because I see that right angle right there, all right? So that's the last base in height. So another way we can write the area is area equals 16, okay, times, oh, but that's actually not 10, I'm sorry. That is 11 25/100. They have a line pointing to it. So 16 times 11.25 divided by 2. All right? So if we were to solve all three of these equations, we would get the same exact area. Every time you solve for the area of a triangle, you always need to find one of its bases and its corresponding height that makes a right angle. Okay, that's how you know that that is the height. All right? Make sure before you do the Google form, you're always multiplying the base times the height and then dividing it by 2. That is really big. If you don't divide it by 2, you're basically finding the area of a parallelogram with that base and height, not a triangle. All right, so just make sure you're remembering to divide by 2 at the very end. All right, have a good day.